If the forum's role is to convene influential actors, the next question becomes unavoidable. Who is able to participate? And how is the organization funded? The World Economic Forum operates primarily through a membership model. Companies from around the world pay annual fees to become members or strategic partners of the organization. These corporations represent some of the largest firms in finance, technology, energy, manufacturing, and global services. Membership fees support the forum's research initiatives, its global programs, and the events it organizes throughout the year. The structure is not hidden. Information about the organization's governance and institutional framework is publicly available. Yet the funding model has drawn sustained attention because participation in the forum often requires significant financial commitment. Companies that become members gain access to meetings, working groups, and collaborative initiatives. They also gain proximity to policymakers, regulators, and leaders of international institutions. Supporters argue that this model reflects practical reality. Large multinational corporations operate across multiple jurisdictions. Their resources and technologies play a major role in global economic developments. Including them in policy discussions, supporters say, can help address complex challenges that governments alone may struggle to solve. Climate transition strategies, digital infrastructure, and global supply chains often depend on cooperation between public institutions and private industry. From this perspective, the forum acts as a bridge, a space where governments and corporations can discuss shared problems. Critics, however, focus on a different concern. Not secrecy, but access. When participation requires substantial resources, the range of voices present can become concentrated. Smaller organizations, local institutions, and segments of civil society may have fewer opportunities to participate in those conversations. In policy environments, access often shapes agenda. The individuals present in a discussion influence which issues are prioritized, how problems are defined, and which solutions receive attention. The forum itself does not make policy decisions, but discussions that begin within its networks can later appear in other arenas. Government committees, international institutions, industry coalitions. In that sense, the funding structure of the forum does more than sustain operations. It helps shape who sits at the table when global economic challenges are debated. The question, therefore, is not whether the forum secretly controls policy. There is no evidence of such authority. The more relevant issue is how proximity between corporate capital and public governance influences the direction of global discussions. Understanding that relationship requires examining how ideas move through networks and how certain ideas become widely adopted. To see how this process unfolds, it is useful to examine another function of the forum: its role in framing global priorities. If the World Economic Forum does not pass laws or regulate markets, how can its discussions still appear to influence global policy debates? Part of the answer lies in how issues are framed. Every year, the forum publishes a series of reports that analyze emerging global risks and economic trends. Among the most widely referenced are the Global Risks Report, the Global Competitiveness Report, the Future of Jobs Report, and the Global Gender Gap Report. These publications compile research, expert surveys, and policy analysis from governments, academic institutions, international organizations, and industry leaders. They do not enact policy, but they influence conversation. In political science, This dynamic is often described as agenda setting. Agenda setting refers to the ability to shape which issues are treated as urgent and how those issues are defined. Before governments pass legislation, before regulators draft rules, and before investors shift capital, a different process occurs. Problems must first be identified. Priorities must be established. Language must be shared. Institutions across different sectors begin referring to the same concerns. Reports produced by the forum often contribute to this stage. The Global Risks Report, for example, regularly surveys hundreds of experts from government, business, academia, and international organizations. Participants are asked to evaluate which threats are most likely to affect the global system in the coming years. The results are presented as a map of interconnected risks. Economic instability, climate change, cybersecurity threats, technological disruption, and geopolitical tensions are often analyzed together. When policymakers, corporate leaders, and journalists begin referencing the same assessments, a shared vocabulary can emerge. Concepts such as climate transition risk, technological disruption, or stakeholder capitalism gain visibility within international discourse. That visibility can influence how governments, financial institutions, and international organizations frame their own strategies. The forum itself does not require anyone to adopt these ideas, but the reports circulate widely. They are cited in conferences, policy briefings, academic research, and media coverage. In networked systems, ideas rarely move through direct command. They spread through repetition, through reference, through discussion across interconnected institutions. In that sense, the forum's research output functions as part of a broader ecosystem where global priorities are debated. Its influence does not come from issuing instructions. It comes from shaping the conversations that precede decision-making. And those conversations often extend far beyond the meeting halls of Davos. Which raises another dimension of the forum's role: the interactions between public officials and private industry leaders that occur inside those meetings. One of the defining characteristics of the annual meeting in Davos is the proximity between public authority and private capital. Within the same conference halls, government ministers, central bank governors, technology executives, financial leaders, and international organizations often participate in the same discussion. Panels frequently include both regulators and the industries they oversee. Climate policy discussions may involve government officials alongside executives from major energy companies. Conversations about digital regulation can include technology firms and policymakers responsible for drafting the rules. Supporters argue that this arrangement reflects the complexity of modern global challenges. Many large-scale issues do not fall neatly within the authority of a single institution. Climate transition requires coordination between governments, energy companies, financial institutions, and technological innovation. Similarly, regulation of artificial intelligence involves public policy, private research, and global technology markets. From this perspective, bringing these actors together can accelerate cooperation. Dialogue occurs directly between the individuals who design policies and those responsible for implementing them. Advocates describe this model as cross-sector collaboration. But critics approach the same structure from a different angle. They argue that when regulators and corporate leaders meet repeatedly within the same informal environments, boundaries between oversight and influence can become less distinct. This concern is sometimes described as regulatory capture. The concept refers to situations where regulatory institutions become closely aligned with the industries they are meant to supervise. There is no evidence that the forum itself directs such outcomes. The organization does not draft national legislation or impose regulations. Decisions remain the responsibility of governments, parliaments, and regulatory agencies. But the setting in Davos creates an unusual environment. Officials who write policies and executives who operate within those policies interact frequently, sometimes publicly during panel discussions, sometimes privately in smaller meetings or informal conversations. In global governance, informal interactions can be influential. Relationships form. Trust develops. Ideas are exchanged outside formal negotiation rooms. The forum does not determine how those relationships will shape policy, but it provides the setting where such relationships can emerge. Which leads to another feature of the organization's activities: its efforts to cultivate networks among rising leaders across multiple sectors. Beyond the annual meetings in Davos, the World Economic Forum also operates a number of leadership initiatives. One of the most visible is the program known as Young Global Leaders. The initiative was launched in 2004. Its purpose is to identify individuals under the age of 40 who are considered to have significant potential in politics, business, academia, technology, and civil society. Each year, a new class of participants is selected. Those chosen join a multi-year program focused on leadership development, global policy discussions, and cross-sector collaboration. Participants attend workshops, conferences, and research initiatives organized by the forum. The program also creates opportunities for interaction among individuals working in different fields. A technology entrepreneur may participate alongside a government official, a social activist, or a research scientist. Supporters describe the initiative as an investment in future leadership. The argument is straightforward. Many of the individuals who shape global institutions begin their careers decades earlier. Providing opportunities for dialogue and collaboration during those early stages may help prepare leaders to address complex global challenges. From this perspective, the program functions as a training environment, a place where emerging leaders can exchange ideas and build professional networks. But critics sometimes interpret the program differently. They argue that bringing together ambitious individuals from politics, business, and media can also create tightly connected elite networks. Over time, participants may rise to influential positions within governments, corporations, or international organizations. When that happens, existing relationships formed earlier may continue to shape interactions across institutions. It is important to distinguish between observable networks and claims of centralized control. There is no verified evidence that the program functions as a mechanism for directing global policy. Its most visible effect is the creation of relationships among individuals who may later hold significant roles within their respective fields. Programs of this kind are not unique to the forum. Universities, diplomatic academies, and leadership institutes have long created similar networks. What distinguishes the forum's version is the international scope and the range of sectors involved. Politics, finance, technology, and civil society are often represented together. In a world where institutions increasingly interact across national borders, networks of individuals can become as important as formal structures. And that dynamic helps explain why discussions about the forum's influence often extend beyond its official meetings. The visibility of the organization increased dramatically during a global crisis, one that brought unprecedented attention to Davos and its ideas.